All right. Peace and blessings. Haki Ami here, the Success Scholar. Dr. Haki Shakur Ami, the Success Scholar. Asafo, the Honorable One. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, boy, wow. So I am reading African 101. This is Dr. Arikana's book. Yes, for those who may not know, you can look her up, Dr. Arikana. If I thought that people were that serious and, were interested in, like, the global African presence, like, for real, I would perhaps organize a study group. But let me just share, for those who may not know me in the Baltimore area, for some years, I single-handedly kept ASCAC, the Association Study for Classical African Civilization, alive. So that was founded by, let me see, Dr. Jacob Carruthers, Dr. Clark. Let's see, Karenga was kind of around. I don't know if Dr. Asa Hilliard was around. Let me think who else. So I've been out of the loop. I know Dr. Jeffries was the previous chair, so he was a little bit younger than them. But those are some of the founding members of ASCAC. Currently, Dr. Mario Beatty is the international president, and there are different regions, but for quite some years, and I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but I realized that sometimes people want to just reinvent the wheel, so and they think that they're smarter than other people, certainly in Baltimore. But ASCAC had a study group, and they have a little pamphlet that I believe sincerely that many people need to know. And unfortunately, and I'm sure I may have the book somewhere, but I was the only one that actually was keeping that work alive for quite some time, for 2, maybe 3 years. I tried to keep that work alive, but I had to evolve, and I felt like, for those that needed that knowledge, certainly should, aspire to get that. So you can Google, for those who may not know, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization, and you can see the scholars that were a part of that. Let me make sure I didn't mention nobody. Let me see something. I don't want to miss anyone. But so I just mentioned that to say I wish that this book would have been out during that time. And they're still around, so but they're still around. So here it is. Let me see. All right, they got something coming. Oh, they got something coming up in DC. Using ancestral wisdom. Oh, it's at Howard. Great. So they do have something coming up in April the 16th through the 19th. But let me see if there's Greg Carr. Let me see, Council of Elders, Rosalind Jeffries, Mama Beatty, Vina Baker, Maxine Mims. Let me see, commission chairs. Let me see if they have the history. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. But I came on actually to speak about, if you haven't been to Tanzania, I don't know if you can really talk about the role of you cannot speak on Pan-Africanism. Now, I know that might be a little far-fetched, but I wanted to just give a little bit of context for those who may not be aware, but Tanzania, or what was called Tanganyika at the time, held the 6th Pan-African Congress, and that was held at Dar es Salaam. Partnered with the University of Dar es Salaam. And did I actually have the chance to go on that campus? I'm not sure. I think I did. So, the reason I can't remember, we've been on several different campuses throughout our experiences in Tanzania. But in 1974, in June, was the 6th Pan-African Congress, and this was the first Pan-African six-pack that was held. It was the first on African soil. It was hosted by the Tanganyika African National Union, and they had over 500 delegates to focus on anti-colonialism, self-reliance, and neo-colonialism. And this is partially, I would say, and I can't recall, I'm sure Dr. Walter Rodney was present. He wrote the book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. If you haven't read that, I definitely would encourage. Oh my God, it's a difficult read, but I read it some years ago. I don't even know if I completed it for the most part, but I do know that I dug in it. At the time. But it's definitely a serious analysis to understand. And so if you can look up anything about the 6th Pan-African Congress, please do. I definitely would encourage that. So some of the things that happened there, but it definitely was at the University of Dar es Salaam, and President Nyerere, you'll see many different attributes to him. If you go there, you will definitely, so some of the things that we're talking about with liberation, intellectuals and activists and just diaspora, from people came from literally all over. But I mean, and I've heard like a lot of things that, when I went there, the role that Tanzania held, and even during this conference, I recall hearing a discussion saying that they apartheid in South Africa, that was the key catalyst for dismantling apartheid. Those delegates that came there, and they had a focus on that. So as well, so I would encourage you all to do a deeper dive into that, and continue to build off of that, because there was another Pan-African Congress that just happened, in Togo, the 9th Pan-African Congress. And I did a video on that, on one of the organizers that really got it going here in the United States, of President Ngaka at Lincoln University here in right outside of Philadelphia. So I just wanted to say, because for instance, there are many, for instance, in Baltimore, and I just believe, like, okay, how do you actualize this Pan-Africanism in real life? Like, and and there's a time and a place to discuss this. See, what happens in terms of my criticism is that many people are theorists. They theorizing about what that actually means, and many, for instance, in Baltimore, they play dress up. They play dress up and want to pretend that they are doing this work. So, but I just want to plant that seed. I'm not going to speak long on that, but I definitely wanted to get you all to encourage, and I may come back and do a little bit more as I dig, but I'm sort of off the top of my head. But with that, and I've been to Tanzania maybe 3, maybe 4 times, with different groups, and planted a lot of seeds, have a significant amount of allies. And I was actually covered in one of the the newspapers there. I had a really good article there, as well as the Kenyan newspaper. So progress is definitely being made there. So, but everything has its context. But I just wanted to plant a seed, of course, about ASCAC, of course, as well. And I hope that if we are studying, you're not going to learn some things in universities. They don't have different books. They don't have the right books, and you need people who know these different books. And so I'm trying to find a delicate balance, because I've read a significant amount of them, and I didn't have to go to jail to do it. No shade, but I mean, look, some people are serious about gaining the right knowledge, and so but ultimately, brothers and sisters, we have to do our outreaches, and or when we have the right people at the table. See, and there are a lot of other people who may have gone to Tanzania, but they aren't going to build like any true power. Like, you got to organize with the right people. And so I'm pleased that I was able, planting those seeds, that I was able to go not just to Tanzania, but created a relationship with the Tanzania embassy. Brother Melford invited me to a meeting discussion there some years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So so some good relationships have been planted, some seeds have been planted, and we are making some serious progress. And so I wouldn't have it any other way. But sometimes you have to sort of let people know, like, look, you cannot speak about Pan-Africanism in the United States without that 6th Pan-African Congress, and the role of the University of Dar es Salaam, the role of Walter Rodney, and how President Julius Nyerere assisted in the destruction of apartheid. So that's all I want to say, really, really quick. But progress is being made, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to be long with that, but you can check it out. I do have the other video on that 9th Pan-African Congress. Maybe I'll put it in the drop down. So peace and blessings. I'll put my article as well in there, so you definitely can check that out in the comments. Of course, follow me on my YouTube page, Raising Consciousness and Capital, or my Hakeem Kwame or Facebook. So definitely, y'all, holla at the Success Scholar. We building, we growing, we making moves in real life, in practical real life, of course. So we're winning. That's what matters. Thank you all. Peace and blessings.